we take other moral thinkers as well, which generally is not taught, because I want to have a comprehensive understanding. Okay, because I believe that I'm not very optimistic about everyone getting into civil services. That is not possible, right? It has a very limited seat, right? So what my idea is that if you are someone who is hardworking and capable, so wherever you go, be it civil service or be it corporate or be you starting something yourself, so you will be at a leadership position, right? At the helm of affair, right? You will be the one who will be making decisions, right? Wherever you go, civil service is not the end of it, because if you study so hard and you have the intelligence, so most likely you will end up at a leadership position, right? Whatever it is. So in that leadership position, your decision, is very important. How you take decisions, either your decisions are ethical or not, because your one wrong decision can create chaos in the society. Imagine you become the principal of a school, or maybe you become vice chancellor, or a CEO of an organization, right? So your decision has a bearing on everyone, right? In an organization, your decision has bearing all the employee, and so does your clients, right? Same goes if you're a school principal, right? Your one action will determine all the children and the teacher that you're in your school. Same goes for the principal, whatever field that you choose, right? So it's very important that you have some certain ethical and moral inclination. So that's why it remains important for me that we discuss it. And that is the reason that I started. So it is not necessarily to prepare you for civil service exam, but of course it will prepare you for civil service exam, because it is integral part of GS4 syllabus. And these days also essay, they are asking philosophically inclined questions. Okay, but now since we have to qualify civil service as well, because that is what we are here and we aspire for. So now in our previous class we started with genealogy of ethics and morality, right? Right, so that's we started. We took philosophy, that we will be studying the philosophy, the part of philosophy which deals with ethics, and we started with genealogy of ethics and morality, right? We took the story of a simple shepherd named Giles. It is mentioned in Greek mythology, and from that we try to study various moral framework, and then asking Giles question that why he should be ethical and moral even when the gift of invisibility protects him, right? So we try to answer the question of Giles' dilemma, right, by divine command theory. So divine command theory essentially stems from religion, right? The religion provides the moral framework, right, for our conduct of right and wrong. And since it is come from religion, the head of the divine command theory is God. So morality stems from the God. Since God is the ultimate creator, he created us, plants, animals, and he controls the movement of planets and sun, right? Since God is the ultimate creator, he is the ultimate architect. So his decree and his ruling remains the command, okay? And that decides our construction of right and wrong and our conception of ethics and morality. Because we assume in divine command theory that God exists. We are not questioning the existence of God. The assumption is that God exists and God is the ultimate creator. Therefore, whatever consistent with the God is right, and what is inconsistent with the God command is wrong. Hence, that is immoral, right? So in Giles, we answer it, even the gift of invisibility protects him, right? Still, God could see him, right? Since God could see him, there will be a divine retribution, right? And then the God will punish him on the day of judgment, right? So that was the first moral framework that we studied, right? And we have studied the criticism of it, right, by Euthyphro dilemma, right? But now today we will discuss a different ethical framework, a framework which is very consistent with divine command theory. It is in fact an improvement, not necessarily improvement, it complements divine command theory, right? That is called natural law theory. Natural law theory, okay? So there was a person named Thomas Aquinas. Okay, so Thomas Aquinas was a theologian. He was a monk, and he was a philosopher as well. So he looked around, he observed his environment, the surroundings he was living in, and he realized that not everyone carry Bible, not everyone go to churches on Sunday morning, not everyone is a religious fellow and knows or read Bible. Now imagine if the people are not religiously inclined, right? They do not believe in God and they do not read moral framework, that is religious scriptures. So how they will navigate about right and wrong action? How they will shape their construction of moral or immoral, right? So Aquinas believe that even when there is no religious scripture to shape our conduct and our ethical behavior, there is a way which we could reach to right and wrong. Okay? Now imagine there is no ethical framework, right? We study in divine command theory, there is scriptures, Sharia in Islam is there, right? And Ten Commandment is there in Christianity. Now if we do not know those commandments, so how we will able to live peacefully in society? So Aquinas developed this theory of natural law theory on Aristotle idea of nature, which is based on reason. So Aristotle believes that there's a rain happens, right? Rain happens, and because rain happens for the plant. Then plant grows, and animals feed on plant, right? And animals, plants are for the sake of human. So everything in the nature has a purpose, right? So God created everything with a purpose. Rain is for the plant is for the animals, and plant and animals is of course for the human beings. So there is a neat hierarchy in this universe, right? One is created for the other, and since human have reason, have mind and personality, so we have authority of everything that has God created apart, right? Nature, right? Plants and animals. So you take biological elements. Since we have teeth, right? We chew with the teeth, right? We have our digestive system to digest the food we eat, and we have eyes to see. So Aristotle says that everything has a purpose, and God has created everything with the purpose in mind. Even we human created everything with a purpose in mind. We created chair, right? We created phone, we created pen. So it has a purpose, right? Since we as a human created everything with a purpose, so of course he believes that God created everything with a purpose in mind, right? So this is what Aristotle says. So Aquinas read Aristotle, and he develops his natural law theory on the works of Aristotle. So he says that God does not simply created us and walk away. Okay, he's saying that God does not simply drop us on the earth, and walk away and left us in a moral chaos, right? So he said that when God was creating us, he hardwired us or programmed us in a certain way that we will seek the basic goods which are very important for our survival, and that will help us with the reason our conception of right and wrong. So Aquinas says that there are 6, generally 5 to 7 basic goods, right, that we naturally seek, okay, and that shape, and from there we can reason what is right and wrong, okay, and our conception of morality and ethics. Okay, so we'll study what are those 6 basic goods that Aquinas outlined, and from there we can drive rightness and wrongness, and ethics and morality, right? So let's take the 7 basic goods. So you were able to follow it, right? First is life. I can say self-preservance. Okay. So these basic goods remains the foundation of our survival and our progression, and these are important for our flourishing life. Okay. So now are the 7 basic goods, and this is very natural to us. So we take the first example, life, right? So from the life, we know that we all have survival instinct, right? The will to life. So we'll not simply jump from a building, right? Because there is a will to life and we want to protect ourselves, right? We will not roam around in a jungle where hungry tigers are roaming, right? Right? And it is not only essential for humans, the will to life, right? It's not only us that want to protect ourselves and we have will to life or survival instinct, but it also with the animals. Imagine a deer running when the tiger is chasing. You might have seen on National Geographical Channel that how fast it runs to save itself. So everything that God has created has an instinct to preserve life, self-preservation, right? So there's a will to survive. So whatever God has created in nature has a very natural instinct to preserve ourselves, to protect ourselves, right? It applies to human, applies to animals, and it applies to insect and worms as well. I believe it goes true for the trees as well, trees and plants, right? So that is the first natural good, the basic good that we seek as a humans, as a creator of God. Now second is reproduction. So since we protect our life, right? So a time will come when we degenerate, will get old and die, right? So what we reproduce our offspring so that they will carry on our legacy. And it's true for humans, it's true for plants and animals as well, right? And since reproduction remains very important for our survival, otherwise we'll go extinct. So that's why God pays special attention to that, right? So it made reproduction sex pleasurable so that we will pursue it. Otherwise it was not, the humanity would not have progressed that far. Okay, it would have remained a work itself. That's why God instilled us in passion, a sexual drive, and applies to all beings, humans, animals as well, right? And the first reproduction is also important for self-preservation, because in it itself we are living our legacy, right? So that's why Aquinas said that nature makes nothing in vain, right? And our natural desire for immortality is a sign of reality, right? Because we seek immortality, right? Naturally. So in some way or the other, by nature, we leave our offspring, right? And that's why the life progression forward. So reproductions is the second basic good. Are you able to relate it? Now the third in education to offspring. First we save ourselves, survival instinct, then we reproduce, and then we educate our offspring. Because without education they will not able to survive. Cat teaches their the offspring to hunt. Same goes for the wolves, right? They teach them how to hunt and how to avoid predators. If you take the elephant teach their offspring how to find water, right? And how to dig water from the land, right? Elephants get water by digging the burrow. It's same with the of human, right? We send our children for education, schools. We teach them ability of maths, physics, and the lessons of life, right? Philosophy or morality as well. So that was the third natural good that we seek as a human, and that is comes from nature itself. God has instilled in us. We do not need a rule book to do all these things, right? I mean, tiger or wolves, the animals did not read any book to know all these things, right? So this is God has naturally embedded in us. This was the third thing. Now the fourth thing, living in community. So Aquinas says that isolation is unnatural. For a certain period of time we might be isolated, but a long period of time isolation is unnatural, that is against nature. We naturally or instinctively seek community. We want to live in community, right? And that applies to humans, and that applies to animals as well. You see, and many tigers have roam around with few of their species. Dogs, hyena, you would have seen animals, they roam in groups, right? Even goes for elephants and for humans as well. And if we do not live in community, these three things would not be possible. We cannot protect our life. Survival is important, so community is important. Same way, in isolation we cannot reproduce, and we can also not provide education to our offsprings. So living in community remains integral part, and that is naturally embedded in us. God hardwired or programmed us in us. Okay. Yeah. So there's also one poem. It says that no man is an island entire in itself. Every man is a piece of continent, the part of the main. Right? You get it? It said no man is an island in itself. Yeah, every man is a part of continent. Every man is a piece of continent and part of the main. What are you trying to say? That in society we live in, so we need other people, right? We cannot fulfill all our needs by being alone, right? We need community, right? You live in community. Somebody builds your house, you go to school, somebody teaches you, somebody builds phone so that you could buy it, right? So in community, living becomes possible. Be able to reproduce, be able to protect ourselves, right? Police system is there, governance is there. So that's why I said that we live in community, and living in community remains very essential part, and God has naturally embedded in us that we instinctively seek living in community, right? That is very inherent to us, right? And this one is seeking meaning and purpose. So Aquinas says that since we are rational agent, okay, we have ability to think, we have ability to innovate, we feel, right? So naturally we seek meaning in whatever we do, right? If you want to be a doctor, you will see meaning that you want to solve. Even as an IAS, if you want, there is a meaning in that, right? Which will drive you here, right? So you want to solve humanity, you want to solve your people, you want to solve your country, even if you join army. So even whatever we are doing, we are seeking a meaning and purpose. But Aquinas goes one step ahead of it. He says that God created in us a void, okay, a longing, and that longing is filled by God, okay. That longing is longing for God. So Aquinas says that literally we feel a void, right? Even now, I think in your youth you will feel void, and when you feel that void, what you try to do, that you try to fill it at the youth by love, or maybe romantic relationships when we are young, right? So you try to fill that void with romantic relationship. But once you have that experience, that romantic relationship, if you realize that that void is still there, okay, maybe you will not realize it now, but at the later stage, when you get old and when you experience those things, you will realize that the void is still there. And then at that stage, you will fill that void by spirituality. Okay, my point. So Aquinas says that that void is essentially filled by God, and that is longing for God. Okay, so God hardwired us that we naturally seek God. Okay, but this is Aquinas says that, doesn't mean, but other philosophers disagree with that, like Sartre. He says that that longing is a defect in us, and that cannot be filled, right? But generally we try to fill when we are young by romantic relationship, and we are old, once we experience it, we realize that this void is not filled by romantic relationship. You know, there's a dialogue that you complete me, right? Have you heard this? No. Okay, Jerry Maguire says in a movie that he sees his wife and says that you complete me, right? And when we are young, we feel that the romantic relationship or other person could fill our void. But once we experience, we realize that no, certain period of time, that void again resurfaces, and then we go for spirituality. That's why we say that in old days, people are towards spirituality, right? And seek God. So this is what Aquinas said, that that void is meant to fill by God. Since Aquinas was a monk, He was a monk from a very early age, and he became philosopher later. Okay. And the third one is pursuit of knowledge. No, sorry, it is sixth one. So we are naturally very curious creature, right? Since we have the ability to think and we are curious, we ask why for everything, right? So God created this rational mind so that we do not only live, but we thrive as well. And our curiosity remains important for other these things as well, our will to life and our survival. Because if we are not have the pursuit of knowledge, we cannot move forward, we cannot protect ourselves, the will to life. Take the example of COVID. If we are not curious creature, our species will go extinct. And all the science and technology that be by our rational agent are basically what is furthering this, our life and reproduction, not necessarily reproduction, but education to our offspring, because we will ultimately reproduce. Science has nothing to do with that. But that is a will to life. Science today are discovering so that we could immortalize ourselves, right? If you read, I think the book was, what was that? Homo sapiens. I think the author has talked about that we are trying to seek immortality. The scientists are working on that. So that is again the will to life. So we are curious creature. We develop so many medicines that again will to life and cure to many diseases. So we are curious creature. Okay. So this is nature, right? So Aquinas said that we understood the nature and the sixth aspect of that, and then we add reason. That will form our conceptions. Of and morality. So if we take the nature and we apply reason, so we were able to construct what is right and what is wrong. So what is right? The thing which is consistent with nature is right, and thing which is not consistent with nature is wrong. Consistent means, okay. So first is reproduction. Let's take that. So nice. First is life, right? So life means life. It says life is valuable, right? Life is valuable means I value my life, so I value your life. So from here we can conclude that killing is wrong, right? Because I value my life and she value in your life, so killing is wrong, right? From where we can deduct. So what we are coming to, we are deducting ethics and morality from nature by application of reason, and we are not relying on God's commands on any scripture, and that is universal, and any rational agent could deduct, right? You can deduct. You don't need anybody to tell you that killing is wrong, right? So this is life, right? The first thing. Now take education to offspring or reproduction and living in community. And we apply our reason, then we will come to conclusion that what is right and wrong. Now if you take example, living in community. So living in community, it means that kind. If I am kind to you, and then you will be kind to me, and we will be kind to others. So that makes living in community very conducive and congenial. So right, so kindness is good because it is consistent with nature. Get my point? So we understand nature, we apply reason, and we will come to our construction of right and wrong, and our conception of ethics and morality, right?
Same as
Golden rule, yeah, that hold true for every religion. We will study about that. It says that do not do unto others what you do not want unto you, right? And it is also that do unto others what you want to do unto you. Okay, so that we do not need any divine law or need to read any scripture to deduct ethics and morality. So in this, we study nature, and from the nature, by application of reason, we are deducting what is right and what is wrong. Right? So living the same base, stealing, right? Stealing is wrong, or being unkind and brutish to you, or robbing you is wrong, because that will make living in community impossible. There will be no peace and harmony, right? So that's why stealing, robbing is wrong. In the same way, freedom of speech is right, because that is consistent, because that will be go against living in community, right? Liberty. So it has shaped the constitution as well, right? That is part embedded in constitution. And seeking meaning and purpose, education to offspring, right? So if you say Indian constitution, it's our fundamental duty, and as for the fundamental right to education. So it is our fundamental duty to send our children to school to a certain age to provide education. And it is not only fundamental duty of our as an individual, but also of the state, right? A state has also have to provide education, but as an individual, okay, we also have to provide education to our offsprings, all right? And reproduction, let's take example. So reproduction, sex is to reproduce, right? So now sex which does not lead to birth is wrong as per Christianity. That's why gay sex was not allowed, because if the sex is not leading to birth, so it is not consistent with nature by natural law theory, because the purpose of sex is what? Okay, to give birth. But if it is not giving birth, so it is inconsistent with nature. That's why homosexuality, gay sex, and contraceptive was banned in Christianity. If you read back, we are talking about 13th century time, right? 13th and 15th century, right? And that was the basis of banning of homosexuality, gay sex. There was punished back then, because that was not consistent with nature. Because sex had a purpose, right? As we mentioned, that Aristotle said that everything is created for a purpose, and if we are not using for that purpose, so that is not consistent with nature, hence that is wrong. You are able to understand the consistent, inconsistent. Consistent with that which aligned with the purpose, inconsistent that is not aligned with the purpose of that creator. But understand one few more things here. So this is common to everything God has created. Plant, trees, animals, dogs, tigers, right? This is also common. This is also common, right? Wolves teach their children to how to hunt, how to avoid predator. Same goes for the elephant, other creatures. Birds also train their kittens, birds, right? This is common. This is common, right? To animals as well. Now these two things, the pursuit of knowledge and seeking meaning or purpose, it's common to only agent which has a rational mind, right? Common to only us human. So what Aristotle or Aquinas will say that these two things elevate us from the rest of the nature, right? Because we are different from tiger, not because we are stronger than tiger or stronger or bigger than elephant. The what separates us from animals is our ability to think, ability to seek purpose, right? Even animals could feel, right? So animals have compassion, but we are rational agent. They are not, right? So these two things elevate us from the rest of the nature. It means that we humans are above the nature, and Aristotle says that since we are above the nature, so we have the ultimate rights above the things which are below us. I mean plants, animals, trees. Since God has created above the rest of the nature, right? So that's why if we see that in our religion scriptures, eating meat is not considered bad, right? Because rain is for the tree, trees is for the animal, trees is for the cow, for deer, and deer is for the tiger, okay? And all these things is for us. So if we exploit us, God has made it for us. I mean, this is what they believed back then. Aristotle believed that. Aquinas believed that. Other religions believe that. So that's why in religion you will realize that eating meat is not wrong. Have you heard of any religion saying that? I have not. Do you think we are Hindus, right? You're Hindu. So do you think Hindus say that eating meat is wrong? Any scripture written? Well, I do not find it. So this is how we come to conclusion. This is what Aristotle will say that a natural law theory is built on the idea of Aristotle. You have my point. But now there is a problem. First, we understood that nature is there. We observe nature since we are human, and we apply our reason, and then we reach to conclusion that what is right and what is wrong, and that applies to all the basic goods. Somewhere there are 5, somewhere there are 7, but essentially this is okay. There's 6, okay, because that fits here. Okay. So now the question is that we know that killing is wrong, right? So why do we kill, right? And why do we steal, right? And why we are unkind to people, and why we are rash. Why we are? Can you answer me? Because we know the nature, right? Because this is the nature has a purpose, and what is we apply our reason, and we get to know what is morally right and wrong. But still, why we do things which are not consistent with nature? Yeah. Okay. You tell me, Himanshi the Great. Tell me, why you think we still immoral, even when God has made us in a such a way that we'll get to know what is right and wrong? Why we kill? Why we steal? Why we rob? You don't know, na? Okay, you tell me, Lijit. Okay.
When I went to out of India, then I had to eat from the street food out of my like I did not like that. I used to walk into like every day. There was no
So we face the same dilemma that Gandhi faced. Huh?
yeah, exactly. Now I'm calm.
Lion and tigers as well. Okay. So Aquinas has 2 answers to this. Aquinas says that we commit wrong first is because of our ignorance, right? Because we are ignorant to the fact that the nature has created with a purpose, and we are ignoring that fact, okay? And we do not know any better. So out of ignorance, we do wrong, first thing. And Socrates, that we'll study in further class, but Socrates is very consistent with Socrates. Socrates has talked of moral intellectualism. So he said that we commit wrong since we lack knowledge, right? So it fits over here. So what here, it has not used the word moral intellectualism by St. Aquinas. He simply said that we are ignorant, okay? We do not know any better. That's why we are inconsistent with nature. That's why we do wrong, okay? And we can write in bracket moral intellectualism. Okay, Socrates will say moral intellectualism because we do not have the knowledge of right and wrong. And second is emotion. So animals have emotion, right? Research has shown that animals have emotion. They could feel, they have compassion, and they have empathy as well. Okay, there was a research done, it is okay, established fact. But they do not have rational mind. But we humans, we have both emotion and rational. So at times they are in conflict. Even when we know that something is wrong, stealing is wrong, our emotion overpower us and we do the wrong, right? We steal it. Even we know that cheating is wrong, but we cheat, right? In exam or whatever we do, right? Small crimes. We know that jumping red light is wrong, but we jump it, right? Because we give way to our impulses, and we as a human finds very difficult to control our passion, our anger, our lust, and our desire. And our inability to control our passion lead us to commit acts which are inconsistent with nature or immoral. Those are the two things that Aquinas has outlined, that why even we knowing the right and wrong, we commit wrong, right? So this was natural theory, but this was just one part of it.
Sir, आपको लगता है कि उसको कितना सही है?
Well, we will discuss that in our further classes. But as per Aristotle notion, that what he outlined, everything is orderly placed, right? And everything has a purpose. Okay, so whoever created, Aristotle does not talk about God. Aristotle work read by the monk Aquinas. Okay, he read his Aristotle work. Since he's a monk, he attached it with God. Right, we'll study that. That's what we'll come to that. So we'll study that. Since by religious scripture we say that we are above the rest of nature. We humans are above the rest of the nature. So we have rights on the things which are subordinate or less superior to us, like plants, animals, right? And so we can do whatever we want, right? And we used to do that in past. It's in modern times there are certain rules that we take them, the animals, into consideration of our ethics and morality, right? And that will study about the modern thinkers, that how they take up those ideas, right? So that's how we move progression. That's why first we study divine command theory, and then we study natural law theory, because it is very consistent with religion. In fact, it complements divine command theory. But he still believes in God. God orderly placed the things and created everything with a purpose. So we understood what is natural law theory, right? Do you have anything? So now question me. We took the Jai story, right? So how will you tell Jai asked, right, why I should care about ethics or morality or right and wrong? Who decides anyway what is right and wrong, right? Jai asked before committing the murder and acquiring the throne or seducing the queen, right? So how with this moral framework, natural law theory, how we will tell Jai that what you did is wrong? What will you tell you? What will you tell to Jai, the shepherd? Right? You remember what he does? He sneaks into the royal palace, seduces the queen, commits adultery, then kills the king and acquires the throne. So what will you tell him? He asked that why he should care about ethics and morality or right and wrong. Why should not simply do whatever he wants, because nobody could see his action. We apply this theory, natural law theory. So how we will?
According to
science. Really? You think he did right by killing the king and committing adultery? Really? Don't you think the first thing is life, right? Self-preservance, life, because I value my life and see value in your life. So from there we deducted that killing is wrong. So killing is wrong, right? Because I value my life and I see value in your life, right? And killing is wrong. Because killing is, yeah.
So let's say मैं जा रहा हूँ, मैं बोलता हूँ मुझे फर्क नहीं पड़ता, मैं तो
तो Jais does, but by natural law framework, this is what we'll tell you, that killing is wrong and stealing is wrong, because that makes living in community impossible, that antithetical to living in community, right? And again, that goes against the institution of marriage, committing adultery. Again, that is against the living in community. Now imagine everyone committing adultery, right? The institution of marriage would not work, there will be no trust, right? So that is against these two things violate, right? Gross violation, right? This is how natural law theory will be defend or tell Jai that what you committed is wrong, right? The short answers. Understood, right? Anything we have doubt about? We understood first framework, was your divine command theory, and the second framework, right? So now we'll relate these two. You can tell me what is the difference between natural law theory and divine command theory? What is that which sets it apart? Indrajit, you can tell me. Okay, all right. Thanks is you. You want to say?
So as the name suggests, divine theory is centered on God.
Yeah.
Nature, natural law is centered on nature. Like if I do something bad, divine theory, the divine powers would have a consequence for me. And let's say we're going to take a collective. But for nature, it's like how the nature has for me. It's system. Let's say if I do something bad, let's say if I eat and a particular animal, then I should be ready for the consequences of the nature. There is an animal, whether it's a lion or a tiger, even he can.
Okay. All right. Yes, true. Yeah, tell me.
फैक्ट से लिखते हुए जो फैक्चुअल चीज से देखे उसमें 10 कमांड्स थे इसमें 60 कमांड्स है तो ये उससे से ये मतलब स्वीकार कर सकते जो गॉड है वही चीज बताएगा जो सही है मैंने एक ही ऑप्शन था गॉड मुझे बता दूं जो सही है दूसरा ऑप्शन बता दूं जो सोर्स सही है सोर्स को फॉलो करना चाहिए तो इसमें पहले से हम दे रखे हैं प्रिंसिपल अगर हम उसके अकॉर्डिंग अगर हम वर्क करते हैं तो हम वो राइट है वो वर्ड जो भी हम करते हैं पर उसमें ये था कि जो गॉड बताएंगे वही से उसमें एक ये डिफरेंस है
Okay.
Divine command theory जो है absolute है इसमें अगर God जो होता है वही command के favor और natural theory होती है जो हमें मतलब birth based जो हमें मिली होती है.
Yeah. So, first thing that in natural law theory, we have moral autonomy. Right? We have moral autonomy, right? We apply our reason, then we deduct what is right and wrong. And it is universal. It does not belong to only one religion, right? If you're a Christian, this is right for Christianity, is given in Christianity, this is right, in Hinduism different, in Islam is different. So it is, our rational autonomy is there. We will observe the nature and we apply it. So therefore it is universal, right? It does not belong to one sect, one community and one religion. So first thing is that it is universal. And there is moral autonomy in natural law theory, right? And second, we study the story of Abraham. When God gives a child to Abraham, and after certain years, when he grew up into a boy, God asked him to offer him as a sacrifice. So that was arbitrary, and there was a lack of moral autonomy. So God command becomes ultimate in divine command theory. There is no scope for reason and moral autonomy, right? So here, rational application of rational mind is there. That is tantamount. That is translated into having moral autonomy, right? And what else we can have? So it also aligned with human purpose, right? Whatever the purpose we have, the basic purpose, right? But it is not our improvement upon divine command theory. It complements divine command theory. Religion still remains the important part of it, because reproduction is inconsistent with nature. So Christianity does not allow, back then, that gay marriages was not allowed by Christianity, and homosexual was also not allowed, and anything that is inconsistent with nature was not allowed. And if you look closely on this, from development of this theory, natural law theory, the society also become more tolerant. It gives way to secularism. If you take back in century, there was a religious war is to be there, right? But it makes sense to us that religious war is wrong, because anyone could be a rational agent, not only people from one religion. Because Christianity is to think that whoever are Christians have the rational agent or whatever it is, And they do not have much valued the life of pagans who are not under the fold of Christianity. If you watch a web series, you will get to able to connect it. In previous class, we I think talked about tolerance, and that's what we were trying to discover it from the 13th century, that how we become more tolerant. So this gives ways to secularism and religious tolerance. Because from natural law, there is no religion. We can deduct it that religious war is not right? And we cannot declare jihad or something like that. Right? If you think about this. Now the question is that how natural law shaped our modern constitution and jurisprudence. But before going that, we'll go to historical context, that how Thomas Aquinas was able to reach here. Okay, so you understood the theory, right? We'll go to the history, that how difficult it was for the Aquinas to reach over here and propagate this. So Thomas Aquinas born in 13th centuries, 1225 to be precise. So before that, 100 years back, there was one Islamic thinker and philosopher. His name was Averroes. It is not the real name. It is a Latin name. It is translated. His name was something Muhammad ibn. Muhammad was there, but it was Averroes. This is what Greek called.
He was born in Spain. That's why.
Yeah. Yeah. So what was happened that after the fall of empire, modern European, what was Roman Empire, that was a dark age. So the work of Greek philosophers. So Greek philosopher born in 544 BC, before the advent of Christianity and Christ. Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. So those works were rediscovered by this Averroes, right? And in this work, it is entirely based on reason. Right? Religion is based on faith. The philosophy of Greek philosophers based on reason. So Averroes rediscovered those works and rewrite by adding his few own thoughts. And those thoughts were questioned the dogmatic stand of Islamic religious people. Therefore, his work was banned. There are few critical things in Aristotle's work which was antithetical to religious. First thing was that Aristotle said that Atma, right? Soul dies, but religious believe that it is immortal. Get my point? Religion says that the soul is immortal, right? Our Atma kabhi nahi marta, right? Something like that. And it is true for all religion. But Aristotle work says that soul is in the form, it is in a form. Soul is in a form. So it is in a form, so it dies. That's what Aristotle says. So that is against Christianity. That is one aspect. Other aspect is that there is no element of God in Aristotle's work. He said that the world started. So in religion, there is a system how the world started, right? It is not in a Darwinian sense. Darwin. So we evolved, right? But in religion, we have a different conception how world started. God created us, and from there we become human. So because of this reason, it was purely logic and rational. His work was banned, burnt, right? This was 100 years before Sant Aquinas in 12th century. And because of this, Averroes failed to reconcile faith and reason. Okay, so in that case, Islamic land, reason become antithetical to faith, and that was not accepted. And they become more dogmatic. Right? So 100 years later, Aquinas again revisited the work of Aristotle, Greek philosopher, but particularly Aristotle. Right? And might he learn from the example of Averroes. So again, Christianity did not accept this. Aristotle, like everything purpose of work of Aristotle was like, they said that how could a pagan who born centuries before Christ could be accept their work and take as a truth. Right? Aristotle 400-500 before BC, before the Christ. But Aquinas, he tried to bridge the gap between faith and reason. And how he does it? He says that, take these things. These things are common to all animals. These two things separate us from rest of the nature. So Aquinas tried to bridge a gap by telling all those monks, okay, that reason is a divine gift. It is a gift from God. Okay? Since reason is a divine gift, a gift from God, reason is not antithetical to faith or antithetical to God, because it is a gift of God. So how it could be antithetical to God itself, right? So, and that was accepted by Christianity, the Christian monks dogmatic, because he aligned with a divine gift, because this is the reason only elevate us from the rest of the nature. So God created us and give the reason. So reason is not antithetical to faith or the God. So that's why Aquinas bridge a gap between Christianity, that is faith and reason, and religion and science, as well as medieval and modernity. And this seems very simple, right? Since we are talking, but this was quite a tall order and very difficult task to do so. What Averroes could not do it. If you take the modern world, even today, when we question faith, right, and the person, what happens to that person, right? But how this things, how it shaped the Islamic world and Christian world in Western Europe. So after this, science flourished in Christian fold because they try to bridge a gap between religion and faith, and they realize that it is possible for religion and science to work together. And that's why they make remarkable advancement in science during 14th and 15th centuries. And same was not true for Islamic world. They are still dogmatic. If you see how the Western Europe has progressed, if you read about Renaissance and other development, industrial development in Western Europe, right? But now Thomas Aquinas' work does not stop there. Okay. So when Thomas Aquinas was a student, he born in a very noble family. Okay. Count Otto. There's a noble family. So since he was a boy, for 5-year-old, he went to church and lived with the church, religious studies he done. So he was always the quiet one. He will seldom speak. So when someone is quiet and seldom speak, we tend to think that he is dumb, right? This is what it is. But he seldom speak, not because he did not understand anything in class, because he understand everything in the class. So his friends, or their fellow students, think that he is dumb, and they give him a nickname, the dumb ox. Okay. And he was a theologian. Theology is something when you study about religion, nature and God. The study of religion, nature and God is theology. Okay. So generally he was a monk, went to a Christian school, so he studied theology. And it was known to his teacher as well, the Albert the Great. So when he published his doctoral thesis on theology, and after reading his professor, Albert the Great, he said, "You call this fellow a dumb fox, but one day his work will be so loud that it will fill the world." And in true sense, it does. And we will take the example how. Do you understand due process of law and procedure established by law? Right? What is the difference? So, I got it. I got it. So actually, procedure established by law. So when a legislature frame law, and if it is consistent with the established by law, by the constitution, that there is a certain standard by which you have to make law, and if it is consistent with that standard, then the law is valid, right? So let's say that you make a law, right, and the principal set a certain protocols. You're the like monitor of your class, certain, yeah. So that is law. But here, due process of law. So law has to be, no. So due process of law has to be consistent with the standards set by the constitution, as well as it is consistent with the natural law. So in our constitution, we have procedure established by law, but there was one judgment by Maneka Gandhi case. In case of Article 21, it has to be consistent with the natural law as well. Article 21. In case of Article 21, we apply due process of law, or generally we have procedure established by law. So what the difference is that if you make a law, right, let's say that you are the head, you're the king, right? You can make any law, right? You make certain standard, constitution, on the basis of that law is made, right? So you might make a standard where killing could be right, on certain even a small crime, right? If someone is committing theft, so you can ask them the chop of their hand, right? So that is consistent, right, with the constitution that you have made, but that is not consistent with nature. Okay, so so in due process of law, generally the law that we made has to be consistent with the nature as well. The law cannot be just arbitrary. Okay, so in case of Article 21, which is liberty, what is the Article 21? Right to life and liberty, right? So that's why in that case of article, it has to be also consistent with the nature. Okay. Okay, understood. So Sant Aquinas, he died at the age of 49, and he was very fond of writing. So since he born in a noble family, he could have a career in military or could be a politician. But he chose to be a theologian and an academician. And in the rest of most of his life, he either was involved in a writing project or reading project. And even at the age of 49, he died. But even on his deathbed, he was involved in a writing project. I was writing on songs of the song. Song. Yeah, that is the name. Songs of the song. And his work is comparable to Aristotle, and he remains one of the profound monk philosopher, in so much so that church given him the honor of Sant. So Thomas Aquinas became Saint Aquinas. Okay, and he was called patron saint for teachers and students as well. And his contribution seems very small in the modern time, but was a very immense contribution, and that shaped entirely, bring that Western Europe, in fact Europe, into a different plane from other Islamic world, which was just nearby, not far from that, because he was able to reconcile faith and religion and science, as well as medieval and modernity. That was medieval time. It was quite of a tall order. It's not very, even in modern times, very difficult to do so. If you look and research about Islamic world and the modern world of Europe and how they have progressed so far, then you will be able to see that how impactful philosophers or political thinkers' work is. Okay, that shapes our daily life, not our daily life, the politics and the environment that we live in. You guys understood? It was just me speaking right over here like a TED talk. You understood? You? So which ethical framework you like more? Which ethical framework we have studied to is consistent with your own nature? Natural law. And you? Natural law. Okay, apart from these two discussion, this is general discussion. And this is off the topic. Averroes, he said that there are three kinds of people. He said that there is a man of exhortation. I will explain what it is. A man of exhortation and a man of demonstration. Okay, he said the man of exhortation is the man who literally believes in Santa Claus. Okay, Santa Claus. He believes that Santa Claus is for real and he will bring gift to him. And he has the intellect of a 3-year-old boy. And for man of exhortation, philosophy is something afar off utopia that could not be comprehended by a 3-year-old boy, right? Can I explain the natural law theory to a 3-year-old boy? No. And then there is a man of demonstration. The man who has intellect capable enough to logic and reason. The philosophy is for those men. Okay? Not for the man of exhortation. So man of exhortation is an emotive man. But we used to discuss that in our emotional intelligence class. So those people need rhetoric, right? And the components which are emotive in nature. If I have to motivate to the crowd of people, right? So I have to use, rhetoric statement, right? Like Hitler does. But a true philosopher, but one who has logic and reason, he does not require rhetorics. He does not need somebody, all the time, a certain external motivation. He could logic and reason. So two kind of men. So he said that. So from that derivation, and we apply in our sense. So man, imagine a boy who is 3, has an intellect of 3-year-old. Imagine a boy of 3-year-old. If you have that intellect, so which theory is easier to make him comprehend and make him to fall online or not committing something wrong? Divine command theory, right? And when I used to talk in other classes, when I say that, the people who are not literate, and they will not understand divine command theory. So people take it in an offensive way, because then we think of our parents, we will think they are not very educated, but they are not dumb, right? But what we are trying to say is that logic and reason is not very common. So common people are very commonsensical, but they are not as intelligent, and the intellect is not very profound. That's why philosophy is something they cannot possibly comprehend. So it's very difficult for them to make them understand the theory of John Rawls, theory of justice, or utilitarianism, or natural law theory, even natural law theory. So divine command theory remains important to make people fall in line or be moral and be ethical, and make them fear from divine retribution, the fear of, rotten in a fry pan, or punished by the God, right? So that becomes a very instrumental divine command theory, even in modern world. People who are not very intellectually sound, who literally believe in religious text, even if they are inconsistent with nature, even when they are inconsistent with their own rational mind, because not everyone is capable to think rationally. Okay? So don't you think divine command theory is still, even in the past, remains one of the most important, even present and even in future remains one of the most important, because everyone fear God. It's only the intelligent one who find a way and become atheist. Have you seen a common man become an atheist? You go to villages, do you find a man who do not believe in God? Have you? Try finding, okay? Right? So all the ethical theory now from here, we will move on to other philosophy which is based on reason and logic. First was not based on faith. Second, in somehow, faith is there because we believe in God, orderly creation, right? And then we apply our nature because we believe that God has coded in us, okay, embedded on those virtues which we naturally, by application of our reason that God has gifted us, we reach to our conception of right and wrong, our construction of ethics and morality, okay? And next class, we'll study the branches of ethics, and then we align all the ethical framework on those branches of ethics. And we start with Greek philosophers. We start with Socrates,